So Dan and I tag up every Friday, and we have honestly what we think is, good discussions every now and then about certain topics. And I was like,
Friday coffee.
Friday, dude, cheers, my friend. I never get coffee. I actually had another meeting this morning with somebody else, and so they bought me a
talking
coffee.
faster.
That's the caffeine just running through the veins, but it's decaf, so there's a little bit of coffee, but I get excited in my chest when we do these things. So we decided it was, let's just try this, see what happens. I'm going to talk about a topic, and then maybe Dan will talk about a topic. We'll see if we have time. If not, we're just going to jump right in. So the topic I wanted to discuss was sales. And the reason why is because I am smack dab in the middle of trying to get more customers, more leads, more qualified people that I can sell to. And this is very tough. I mean, for me anyway, I know some people it's a little easier for some people, but I wanted to go through the journey that I've been through with sales with Flybodies just really quick, because it might be helpful for somebody that's just starting out or is just wants, look at my story and be like, all right, I'm not going to do what that dude did because he's an idiot. So to start off, I was calling probably 10 to 15 schools that I would like to call intermittently. And this is over weeks at a time. And then I found out that is not a great way to get a lot of people in the pipeline. You've got to call 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 schools a day just to even get in touch with them. And that's what I've done these past 3 months. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It doesn't matter what day it is. Call people, call. There was no perfect time to call, although there are certain times, maybe people are picking up at a certain time, but it was just volume. It was strictly volume, right? It comes down to just tying or taping my hand to my phone and saying, I'm going to call at least 20 schools a day, and sometimes different schools, sometimes the same school, just to get on the phone with somebody, just to touch base. And it's worked tremendously in these past 3 months. And it's taken me 4 years to get to that point where I was like, okay, my word of mouth isn't really traveling very fast. And calling onesie, twosie schools isn't happening very fast. It's volume at the end of the day.
It is volume. But I also feel like you have had those 4 years to really craft your pitch, and you have a lot of conviction in what you say. And when you do get someone on the phone, you have a much more structured way of approaching it now, and you're able to clearly articulate why you're here and why they should be interested in talking to you, right?
That's a great point. I think 4 years ago, I probably, stumbled over my words a lot more, and the clear incentive why they should do it wasn't there. I didn't have the data to really back it up. I was definitely trying to convince people to give me a shot instead of saying, hey, we're working at 10 other schools and this is who we're working with. So I wish I would have known the volume piece 3 years ago, because the other portion of this is planting the seed. It takes 4 to 6 months for a school to even think about doing this, because there's a lot of red tape. Their budget is every year, so they plan for the next year. And so if you talk to them 1 month and they go, we already did our budget, talk to us a year from now, long time. But if you're intermittently reaching out to them, I reached out to hundreds of schools from January to March. June is when we redo our budget. Okay, that's a couple months from now, and we can get ready for the next year. So that was another thing, is planting the seed, because people just take a long time to make a decision.
Yeah, I love that approach too, because nobody likes being sold to, right? You think of the quintessential telemarketer calling you at dinner, and it's like, I don't want to talk to you, dude. I don't care. You're interrupting my thing. But if you call them and it's really about having a conversation more than I'm trying to sell you something right now, and really just building a relationship, planting that seed, I feel like people are much more open to it.
For sure. And to your point, you don't want to be sold to. I've done my fair share of listening to podcasts and other people. I took this from, many people have said it probably, but I remember Mark Cuban saying is you're not selling, you're trying to help. How can I help you? Right? Because if you're trying to sell a product, you're like, hey, you should buy this. Instead of saying how can I help you? What are your pain points? How does our product help you do your job better or make your life easier? And that stuck with me, because you are trying to help people by selling your product. But when you flip that kind of idea of, I'm actually just trying to help this person, and I'm going to find out how I can help them the best, instead of my product does this, this, and this, and this is why you should buy it.
Yeah.
That's kind of helpful. Although you do slip back into the try to selling people and stuff sometimes, but then when you think about, all right, how can I help this person? And then it doesn't feel as slimy too. Then you don't feel I'm trying to shove this down the person's throat. Yeah, but yeah, man, the sales thing is tough.
It is tough, dude. Cold outbound is a difficult business to be in. I'm not good at it.
Thick skin.
What I'm hearing from you though is 3 sort of factors to your success so far. The first one, like you said, is numbers. I think about the book Atomic Habits. James Clear talks about systems a lot and atomic habits that you kind of build on, and that's what ultimately leads to compounding results. And he uses an example of a guy who would come in and he was on a desk working at like a trading firm, something like that. And he had a jar of paper clips and he had an empty jar. And there were 100 paper clips in there. And throughout the day, he would call people and he would take one paper clip from that jar and move it to the other. And he wouldn't get up from his desk until he finished moving every single paper clip over. And just by having that volume and that system in place, he was able to like build out a bunch of leads and ultimately rise up through the ranks in the firm. The second thing I heard you say was systems. So previously you were doing intermittent calling. You didn't really have a schedule and a process. You were just sort of as things came or whenever you felt like it. But by having a much more structured approach, having a spreadsheet, being able to find the right people, forcing yourself to sit down at certain times and call people, that's been giving you a lot more traction than just sort of doing it whenever you felt like it, which is probably never. And then the third thing is not necessarily trying to sell, trying to understand and trying to connect around their problems and really build a relationship and plant the seed. You know, it's not necessarily you're calling them and immediately on that first call, you're trying to close a deal, but you're trying to say, hey, I'm Austin. This is what I care about. This is what I've heard in my past conversations, and this is what I'm offering. Are you interested? Or would you eventually be interested? And whether it's right there or down the road, that's been a good way for you to generate leads and generate pipeline.
Nailed it, Dan. You hit them all three. I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. I feel like you always synthesize the things I say because I ramble, and then it's like, okay, yeah, no, that's exactly what I said. Just easier to understand. No, yeah, that's perfect. And what to add on, the last thing I want to talk about the sales piece is like everyone's inbox for email is just so saturated.
Dude, yeah.
And so in the book that I was listening to, Fanatical Sales, there's still no better way to sell than to just literally calling people up, talking to them on the phone and being like, hey, I'm a real person trying to sell you or help you with a real product. Mm-hmm. And like now, like sending an email, don't get me wrong, like it is effective. It can be effective, but like it's just so saturated that I found that like I'll get one reply out of 200 or 1,000 emails as opposed to calling 50 schools and talking to 10 people, right? Anyway, so that's what I kind of, obviously that's something you have to just kind of think about is just because you're sending 10,000 emails a day doesn't mean you're going to get a bunch of traction. So just think about that.
Yeah. And that's interesting. I see the appeal of cold emails just because of the scalability of it, right? And you can
exactly
write scripts and things that can curate a list and you shoot them out and whatever you get, you get. But I have seen the same thing in my world that the cold emails really don't get you a whole lot. There's the science and a whole process, finding leads and grooming them, finding the right one, and then doing that human outbound connection where it's not just, you know, just a random email in their inbox. It's a LinkedIn connection or a personal call or a text or something like that. You have to do the work to form that connection because people are just so inundated right now with everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Literally almost every person I talk to begin with, they're like, hey, I'm super busy. I have a ton on my plate. I can't deal with this right now, but maybe call me in a month or something like that, right? Everybody we're so busy. Everybody's so busy. And we're getting so much signal/noise from so many different things that in order to break that, you have to show up at their door or call. So which is maybe going to be my new sales tactic is I might start showing up at schools and, hey, I was in the area. Love to talk to you. So
there you go.
We'll see.
So talk me a little bit through your funnel. You've covered top of the funnel, which is essentially lead capture. Once you have had some of these warm conversations, what's your next step?
So I try to set up a demo after the first interaction so that they can actually see the product, right? Something that I actually changed that I started doing these past 3 months was I'd usually just try to convince them just with my voice, obviously just saying, hey, this is what we do, this is what the product does. But then, you know, obviously light bulb moment, maybe not for everybody else, but for me, I should just show them what it looks like, how it works, right? And then I probably even heard somebody say it on podcasts like, hey, doing a demo is super helpful, right? So that's the next stage in the process. People want to know this is actually a real product. How does it work? What's the system that you're going to integrate this in for our teachers? And then how does the product actually work? So doing a demo for them is kind of the next step. And that's when you get the decision there.
And how have you iterated over that demo? Do you have scripts? Do you have something that a specific feature that you like to highlight? Do you tailor it based on the customer? What's your approach?
Great question. So if it has changed over time. I used to just talk about the app and how it works, but HR directors want to know how you're going to integrate it into their faculty and staff. How easy is it for people to actually onboard, or how is this going to create more of a community? It's not to say they don't care about the app, but they just more care about how is this going to disrupt our faculty and staff? Like, is it going to disrupt, or is it going to be a seamless like integration? And so I focus more on that instead of talking about the bells and whistles of the app, because they're not thinking, oh, I can't wait to use this app. They're thinking, how is this going to not F up what my faculty and staff are already doing, but help them tremendously?
Right.
And it's like, okay,
how's it going to solve my problems, right?
Exactly. And their problem isn't, they're not trying to use the app as much as possible. They're trying to just provide some type of tool so that their faculty and staff can be healthier. So I focus more now on, hey, this creates less isolation for your faculty and staff. And it's this way. It brings more of a community thing together for them and stuff like that. So like focusing on what their actual problem is and instead of just trying to sell the app. So my pitches and presentations have changed to focus more on that in the beginning. And then on the back end saying, and this is what the app looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. What have you found to have like resonate the most with the people that you've met with? That's
a good question, man. People are different all the way around. I would say it's interesting because I literally just had a conversation with somebody yesterday who came from, she's only been in her role in HR for 4 months at this high school. And she was like, I was working for actually a SaaS education business before this. And she was like, anything that we bring on, we want to make sure we're getting, value out of it. And what we're paying for is getting a value. Whereas that's like business talk, right? Like it's interesting to me in the sense, how are we spending our dollars to get more value? Whereas a more seasoned school HR director is more, hey, is this going to make our faculty and staff come together as a community? Are they going to like it? And they don't really talk about like the dollars and is this actually creating enough value for us to have it? Oh, is this going to be something that people like doing? Right.
Yeah. And that's a tough thing, especially if you're working in the health and wellness space, right? And so the ROI from a healthier faculty and staff isn't directly correlated necessarily with what you're doing. It's a lagging metric ultimately,
100%.
Right? Like their happiness, their productivity, their sense of community is going to go up, and ultimately that's going to be reflected in the students and stuff. But like tracing that to what you provide, the walking groups, the challenges, all the fitness tips and advice, that's a difficult line to kind of trace. So how have you navigated that?
That's a great question. So the real metric is going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Hey, are these people way healthier than they would have been had we not been here? Right. I've been with one school for about 4 years now, and you can see a dramatic difference in the people who started with us versus the people who haven't, and the people trickle in. But it is tough. You have to be able to sell / say this is going to help you in the immediate term. Like doing a challenge brings everybody together and it's super fun and it's going to get everybody excited. And so that's kind of in the beginning, you kind of have to be able to focus on those and then also mention the long-term results and say, hey, you're going to be able to retain more teachers and they'll be able to teach for longer. And harp on those as well. But like people want to see immediate results because it's like, hey, what am I paying for? Like to your point, it's hard to really justify paying for something where you're like, hey, this is not an actual, we're not going to see a dollar metric on the other end potentially, but so it is tough. I don't have a specific answer for you because it definitely is tough.
For sure. And I had a similar battle. In my world, I worked in tech on the platform team. And so a lot of my output wasn't directly consumer facing. So I wasn't building features that was like, this is directly monetizable. I could point to something and say, I brought in, $2 million because I launched this feature. It was like, okay, here's a underpinning service that other teams will build on top of. It might make their lives easier, so it was difficult. I had to like sort of craft a story. But even in your response, I heard you say a few things that stood out to me. One is like retention. Teacher burnout is like a real thing. Family members who are teachers and they're like toast. They're heroes, honestly. Amazing amazing people doing really, really hard jobs. And it costs a lot of money to have to recruit and hire teachers. And so if they churn, that is a problem for the district and for the students and for everybody. And so that's one thing that you could maybe not like, okay, Flybody's helped reduce churn this much because you might not have that data, but you could point to like other studies and things saying like, this is how much it costs a district when a teacher churns. And the other one is just like, word of mouth. Faculty, staff, principals, other people have used your product, and you could capture that and just share their stories, right? And so you could say like, okay, maybe it didn't move the bottom line, or student scores like this much. I can't really tell that story, but here's other people who have used this, and this is the benefits that they've seen. Maybe you'll find something similar.
And you're spot on with that last statement. I just had a guy come to a workout on Tuesday, right before we started the workout. He was like, hey, I just kind of want to make an announcement. And there was like 5-6 people there. And he was like, I did my blood work like 6 months ago, and I just recently did it, and I'm no longer a pre-diabetic. He's been coming to the workout. It's really cool because, oh my gosh, like you think everybody's doing these and they're slogging through it. And when you hear a story like that, this is okay, this is great. Like on a personal level, on an individual level, it's definitely helpful. And on a bigger scale, it is definitely helpful. But when you hear those stories, we're making an impact. So
that's fucking awesome. How'd that make you feel personally?
Dude, I got chills because it's like one of those things where I think we helped nudge this guy in the right direction, and he's been coming to the workouts, and he's made concerted effort to say, I'm going to focus more on my health. And he has a child, and he's, a teacher. He's always busy. So it's fun to hear that feedback where he's like, yeah, this has been super helpful.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Well, we got to cut there because I have to get ready for another thing. But Dan, you're going to be on the hot seat next week. So I'm going to be ready for some good info, good lessons learned and stuff. And yeah, this has been awesome. Hopefully this is a good first one. And we'll look back 10 years from now and be like, man, we did an awesome job. We did a great job.
No, I hope in 10 years we look back and we're like, oh, remember when we used to just do Riverside, like Zoom calls, and look at us now.
Oh, man, I love it. All right. Appreciate you, Dan. Thanks for hopping on. This has been awesome. And that's all I got.
Yeah, bro. Good luck in your interview, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, brother. See ya.
See ya.